It started with laughter. Not the kind that warms your heart, but the cruel, cutting kind that turns a hallway into a battlefield. In the middle of the gym, under the bright Friday night lights, Naomi Williams, the only black cheerleader on her team, froze as a group of girls mocked her hair, her skin, and even her uniform. They didn't know her father was a decorated U.S. Marine. They didn't know she had been trained since childhood to defend herself without fear. And they definitely didn't know that before this night was over, she was going to show them exactly what a fighter looks like. Naomi Williams had learned a long time ago that being different in a small town wasn't always celebrated. She was 17, a senior in high school, and the only black girl on the cheerleading squad. Her mom, an elementary school teacher, always told her to be proud of who she was. Her dad, Master Sergeant David Williams, a former Marine who had served 3 tours overseas, taught her something else. You don't go looking for a fight, Naomi, but if one finds you, you end it. Naomi loved cheerleading. It was her escape, her stage, her place to shine. But lately, the locker room felt more like enemy territory. Her biggest tormentors were 3 girls, Madison, Chloe, and Brooke, popular, rich, and convinced they owned the school. It started small, whispered jokes, fake smiles. Then it escalated. They mocked her natural curls. They said her skin was too dark to look good in the team's bright uniforms. They laughed when she made captain of the cheer squad, muttering that it was probably just for diversity points. Naomi tried to ignore them. Her dad always said, discipline beats impulse. But sometimes, it hurt more than she wanted to admit. The final straw came one Friday night, after a big home game. The stands were still buzzing with parents and students when Madison called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. Hey Naomi, are you lost? The track team is that way. We already have enough real cheerleaders. The girls snickered. A few boys in the bleachers joined in. Naomi's stomach tightened. She felt her dad's voice echo in her mind, know your ground. Control your breath. She walked away that night without saying a word. But inside, something shifted. She wasn't going to let them break her. The next week at practice, the bullying escalated. During a warm-up routine, Chloe accidentally tripped Naomi. She hit the mat hard. The laughter was instant. Naomi stood up, her eyes locking on Chloe's. There was no anger in her voice, just a calm that made Chloe blink. You want me to fall? You're going to need to try harder than that. She didn't push back. She didn't start a fight. But in that moment, the power balance shifted, just slightly. One day after practice, Naomi sat in the kitchen, head down, when her father came. Dad, you're quiet today. That's usually bad news. Naomi, it's nothing. Just school stuff. Dad, school stuff doesn't make my daughter's shoulders slump like that. Talk to me. So she told him about the taunts, the whispers, the tripping, the laughter. David listened, silent, hands folded on the table. When she finished, he didn't say, ignore them or, tell the teacher. Dad, okay. We're going to train. That night, in the garage, he pulled out the old training mats. They started slow, basic stances, balance work. Then came striking drills, self-defense techniques, and how to break free from holds. Dad, remember, strength isn't just in your arms or your legs. It's here. He tapped her forehead. And it's here. He tapped her chest. Naomi trained every night for 2 weeks. She was sore. She was tired. But every time she looked in the mirror, she saw a girl who was no longer afraid. The basketball game against their rival school was the biggest of the season. The gym was packed. Cameras from the local news station were rolling. Naomi's squad lined up courtside, ready to perform their halftime routine. Madison smirked at her as they waited for the cue. Madison, whispering, don't trip over your own hair out there. Naomi didn't respond. She just smiled, and that seemed to bother Madison more than any comeback. The routine started strong, but halfway through, it happened. Chloe, positioned behind Naomi, deliberately shoved her during a lift. Naomi stumbled, but instead of falling, she twisted, caught her balance, and kept going without missing a beat. The crowd barely noticed. But Madison and Chloe did. When the performance ended, the squad headed to the sidelines. That's when Madison made her move. She grabbed Naomi's wrist, hard, and hissed. "Madison, you think you're special because you can twirl a little? You're nothing." Naomi turned slowly, her Marine training kicking in. Her voice was low, steady. "Naomi, let go." Madison didn't. She tightened her grip, and in one swift motion, Naomi used a textbook wristlock reversal her dad had drilled into her. Madison yelped, stumbling backward. The other girls froze. Naomi didn't hit her. She didn't shout. She simply stepped forward and said, "Naomi, I'm done letting you push me. You can't break me. And you'll never own me." It wasn't about showing off her combat skills. It was about standing her ground, in front of the people who had tried so hard to tear her down. The moment passed, but it traveled fast. By Monday, everyone in school had heard about it. The whispers weren't mocking anymore, they were filled with respect, even a little awe. Madison avoided her. Chloe kept her distance. Brooke suddenly had nothing against her. And Naomi? She kept cheering. She kept smiling. But now, she carried herself with a quiet power that no one could take away. Naomi learned something that night: the fight isn't always about fists or kicks.